What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, alongside. This is, I think, your third time on my weekly live stream now, Lou. So it's good to have you back. We haven't talked fights face to face in a while, at least camera to camera, but we have talked about at least a couple of these fights for UFC Vegas 68 in the DMs. But I think we might align on most things for this one from what we've talked about. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. And everybody complains about the quality of these cards, but as soon as you dig in, you find spots. And, look, you and I talk during the Contender Series all the time. It's a challenge to handicap them because we have limited knowledge. I feel like there's a lot of those fights here, but I always love that challenge. I'm not looking forward to maybe the Kim and Bohm fight, but
I was talking to your guy Brady about that earlier today, actually, how like that's one of those fights where it's reached a level of talentless and like lost streak where I'm actually excited to see how it plays out and to see if Mandy Bohm can come through as the giant plus money underdog. And that's one of the spots where maybe goes to split would be in question. But you're right. I mean, like this card, I was not excited to dive into this 12-fight card doing the tape study the past couple of weeks, but going into it, the flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight finales of this road to the UFC for the Asian market fighters all are very talented. And I wouldn't mind seeing, like, I kind of hate to see 4 of these guys not make it to the UFC. Hopefully they keep them on the reserve bench for when there's like a short notice cancellation because they're all pretty talented.
I got a feeling one guy that I think is going to lose we'll be seeing again probably in the next 6 months.
Which of those 8 guys are you most excited to see compete?
Oh, Nakamura, man. This dude looks like he's a real deal. He's well-rounded. I mean, and Jacob, but I have different reasons for why I like him. We'll get to.
Yeah, Rinya Nakamura. I mean, just what is it about the bantamweight class, the 135? So they're going to get like the best talent, because this guy looks like he could beat a lot of the lower tier guys in that giant bantamweight division in the UFC. But we're going to see is he going to ascend to that higher level because it's such a big division and there's so many talented guys. But undefeated wrestler, what can you not like about that? I'm most excited for Jung Young Lee, the featherweight guy who's been knocking fools out. Seems to have that death touch. That's going to be an exciting one. But otherwise, we have the rescheduled main event. Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivac supposed to take place. We were doing a live fight companion, too, back in November, and we all learned, you, me, Johnny K, and Cody, we learned that that main event was not taking place, but we got it back. Hopefully, Derek Lewis gets his ass in the octagon this time. Now it's in the Apex again. So
looks great.
Yeah, we'll get into that as well. But let's shout out the chat real fast. This Mushroom, Philly Mushroom, our guy Bobby Glansman, who put out some awesome videos on Twitter breaking down some fights. Everybody go check that out. But Mushroom was first in the chat. We got Glenbot 5000. What is up? We got, exactly. So behind a tape study for this card. There's a lot of new names. Not something you can really do on. But some of the fights, they're there for you. They were like on the UFC Fight Pass from last year in the tournament. So you can catch up on that, Glenbot. Good to see you. We got my guy Sicky does MMA, baiting my guest a little bit with his comments there. Mushroom saying we should be starring in Twins too. The old, of course, you're going to reprise the role of the Schwarzenegger character. I'll be DeVito.
I think Papa Chuck's comment actually describes us best. But
yeah, what's up, Papa Chuck? Boom! Patrick looks like the professional wrestler, and Lou looks like his manager. Yeah, it's like we can have that thing going where, like, I'm kind of dopey. I'm getting my ass kicked, but then you just like slide me a chair or something.
Oh yeah, because you look like you're getting your ass kicked all the time. My job is to get on the apron and tell the ref, like, yo, it's over there.
My guy Carlos, CJP, UFC Bets. Go follow his YouTube as well. It's fast rising, fast growing. He does a great breakdown every week as well. And he did like a best bets video I got to catch up on too. So after this, I will be catching up on all my friends' content. What's up, Carlos? We got Lou in the chat as well. What's going on, Lou? Our guy Brian doing all the stats for us. XBL on Twitch. What's up, guys? My guy, Any Action Effie from the Any Action Sportscast. I saw his video earlier as well. And Jenna Marie, right off work, right on time. Glad to have you in here, the certified gem of MMA Twitter. Rob Lawrence going on, loving the My Balls Was Hot shirt from the Black Beast. Yeah, it's a great one, man. I got on my Always Sunny. It's I'm not fat, I'm cultivating mass for all my Always Sunny fans out there, but that might not be the theme for Derek Lewis tonight or on this weekend. But what's up? Just my 2 cents, and let's get into this, man. We got the biggest
did a show at my 2 cents with him and I and Aaron the dog did the show earlier today.
Really? Okay, what's going on? Yeah, I got to catch up on that. You're featuring some cool guys that I haven't seen. Maybe I've seen them on Twitter, but I haven't seen their YouTubes on your
It was
your
on
prop show.
on Aaron's channel, just a breakdown show. He sold me on a pick that we'll get to on the main card that I'm either gonna love him or I'm gonna hate myself for doing it. But
All right, just my 2 cents. Good to have you in here. I'll have to check that out for sure. But we got the biggest betting favorite of the card in the first fight of the night. Tatsuro Taira is right around like that minus 1,100, minus 1,400 price range. He's taking on a guy in the flyweight division, Jesus Aguilar, who's fresh off the Dana White Contender Series victory. Mexican fighter in Aguilar, 8-1 record. Not the worst, but, this is a tough spot for a guy who's a fellow grappler, just like Tatsuro Taira, kind of an overlapping skill set there where I think Taira is the better man, the more high-level grappler. Jesus Aguilar, not the best takedown defense. This guy's got a lot of subs on his record, but pulling, guillotine a lot. In fact, that's how he got his round 3 submission win on the Contender Series. I think Jesus Aguilar has got a good skill set, but he's going to be outsized here, give up a lot of reach, and it seems like he's got that brute force style of grappling, whereas Tatsuro Taira is, flows like water, flows very well from transition to transition. Striking's coming along as well. So for the 12-0 undefeated prospect in Taira with this giant money line, Lou, how do we chop this down? Do we take the fight does not go to decision? Do we take the unders? Do we take Tatsuro Taira inside the distance? Or do you think Aguilar pulls this off? I mean, what's your angle here?
I mean, he's like a less spinny version of Simon Oliveira, who we just saw a couple weeks ago, a guy who kind of reckless on the feet, always hunting, like happy to just dive to the ground and go for the guillotine and hope to get it. He's not going to get it here against Taira. He's too slick on the ground. He's just going to get in a side control the second he goes for it. On the feet, I think Taira is super underrated. His hands are like bricks. It's the reason I'm hesitant to bet the submission prop here, because I do think that if the only chance that Aguilar has to win is some miracle guillotine and you're Taira, he seems really well composed. He seems like he's got a good camp. They strategize well for him. He could keep this on the feet for longer than you'd think. And like I said, his hands, man, it's like Bo Nickel, where like his striking's not perfectly refined, but all those years of wrestling, like he just has incredibly strong hands for the weight class. So I think the under's the play. It's you're only saving 10 cents, but it's minus 160 on DraftKings. In the distance is minus 170. And for the 10 cents, you're getting the miracle banana peel. You're getting the Aguilar guillotine. But there's nothing more I can really add here in terms of like this.
And which prop were you talking about with those prices? Which prop?
Under 2.5 is minus 160. In the distance is minus 170. If you like the sub, it's minus 135. So to me, I'd rather just take the under. I'll fade the quarter and be happy just for him to get
the under 2.5. The under 2.5, I'm seeing
alt under.
Yeah, the alternative under. Let's see. I saw on Bovada. I saw fight doesn't go. No, I'm sorry. I saw the under 2.5 on Bovada earlier at minus 155, which is probably rapidly changing. Like that was like because fight doesn't go to decision on a lot of books is up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, DraftKings just puts their all unders in like a lot of the props on our card typically.
Wednesdays, yeah. So like Bet Online right now. Bet Online right now, fight doesn't go to decision as minus 275. But if you go to Bovada and you're saying DraftKings now too, the alternate under 2.5, I saw that and I parlayed that with something later on the card as well. Minus 155 on Bovada. What do you, with Effie's comment on the screen, what do you like about that over under 1.5? It's kind of split just right for a flyweight fight, right? Making us pick a side at like a pick 'em price tag.
I mean, I'm happy to eat a little bit of juice to get that extra round because Taira's shown that he's pretty patient. And if, like not saying, if you look at all Aguilar's tape, it's not that he's so reckless. He's not round one or bust. I mean, obviously he's coming off a 3rd round win, but he expends a lot of energy. But Taira is one of those guys, like I don't want to compare him to Peter Yan, I guess, but in the way that he downloads data, he's not looking to finish in 1 minute. He's looking to get his reads, to stay smart, to be safe, to know that, like, I mean, against Vergara, it took him a few minutes to kind of get going. He wanted to see what Vergara was going to do on the feet, how he's going to shoot. And I think that's probably a smart plan for him here because I don't know that Taira needs to get on top more than once to beat him, but maybe he just takes the first round he'll win the round, but maybe he takes it just to do his thing.
Especially with the size difference here. You're talking about a 4-inch height difference at flyweight, but also an 8-inch reach advantage for Taira. I think it's going to be, look, Aguilar's going to have to make the first move, right? Make the first mistake, dive in on a leg the way that Aguilar does. So I think at some point Taira can take the back and finish the fight. It's just like you said, a matter of when. And for 23, just turned 23 last month for Taira. Amazing maturity and patience. So I do like the. I wouldn't take the over under 1.5. I would do what Lou said and what we both. Did you take that bet? Because I actually parlayed that with something. The under.
I have the under 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Or fight doesn't go in general will be a way to cover this, and you can cover that Hail Mary of something going wrong, him diving into a guillotine or something like that. Maybe even at minus
ACL,
14, minus 1400, it's banana peel. So, but yeah, it should be a clear spot for Tatsuro Taira here. I can't see a world where Aguilar can hold him down and maintain control time for the majority of 3 rounds. So, but Aguilar, he's undersized, but I could see a future for him at this division, getting a few wins in the UFC if he comes back. To be honest, he's not a bad fighter. So.
No, and
talking here. The fuck is up, Patrick? What's going on, my friend?
It's good, dude. He's got like I said, he's not round 1 or bust. Like his cardio is decent. It's his technique. He's still young. He fought okay guys in Combate. Like he'll get better. I just think he needs more experience, and it's very clear he's being fed here to open the card and get started the right way. So
wake people up. This card does start at, I believe, Eastern time, 10 p.m. Right? This will be the first prelim at 10 p.m. Eastern.
So I got a day drink. So I can pass out and then wake up in time for like half of Bellator, and then I'll be right into the UFC card.
Exactly. But let's get into the next one here. Up a weight class at 185. We got the returning fan favorite, honestly, Junhyun Park, representing South Korea, taking on Dennis Tiuliulin, who's making his 3rd walk to the cage, the Russian. This is a spot where moderate favorite for Junhyun Park. The last I checked, he was around that minus 200, minus 205 money line. Let me make sure that didn't change here. Okay, it's up there, minus 220 on a lot of books for Junhyun Park. Dennis Tiuliulin plus 190 or so on some. Kick this one off to me at middleweight, man. Like I'm seeing a big size advantage for Tiuliulin. He looked a lot better in his sophomore effort than he did against, of course, Kizriev in his first fight where he got ragdolled around on short notice. Not a great record from Tiuliulin, but he's got some decent striking, at least early. Do you think he can handle the skill set of Junhyun Park here?
So as far as the Kizriev fight goes, because I don't care about the Pickett fight. I mean, beating Jamie Pickett's not
right.
I don't know what I take out of that. It took him 1.5 rounds to do it. So if anything, it's like, what took you so long? But against Kizriev, when he was on the ground, I mean, yeah, he was expected to get ragdolled. He took it on short notice. He was I forget what was Kizriev, like minus 1,000, minus
he was
15. It was massive.
In his debut.
I thought Tiuliulin he was fighting off some subs. I mean, people expected him to lose in 2 minutes. He hung in there for 7 minutes. Wasn't horrible. My bet here, and I feel this is a trap with Park, but I like, as much as Tiuliulin does not go to the judges often, Park's not a big finisher, and he's kind of content. Like even with John Phillips, like he was kicking his ass, but he didn't finish him.
Right.
Park, if he gets hurt, Tiuliulin's path is early knockout. He doesn't have a lot of good cardio, but what Park does is he makes these fights ugly. If you look at the Anders fight, which people don't think he won, and I see it like either way. I went back and watched it, and I can make a case either way. But he made it ugly. He got him against the cage. He went for takedowns. But even when he couldn't get the takedowns, he's pinning his arms. He's not allowing Anders to have any range to land strikes unless he's going to do anything in the clinch. And I think that's what he's going to do to Tiuliulin here. And every second that goes by in that first round where Tiuliulin is just trying to fight off the cage, his cardio is getting sapped. He doesn't have, because everything he throws has just crazy venom. So I think that as time goes on, Park's going to wear him out, take over the fight. Also, don't love Tiuliulin's takedown defense, but Park just never shows that urgency to go for finishes. So I think he can have top control, kind of go for some subs half-heartedly, land some punches, beat him up. Park 3rd round decision is plus 130. That's something I'm looking at here.
It's not bad.
The only thing I worry about is that like he locked the 2nd round sub up. Park round 3 sub feels like maybe a nice little poke here, but I favor Park by decision more than anything else. And I believe it was sitting at plus 180. It went down a little bit, but I do think Park kind of wearing him out the last 2 rounds. And one last thing on this is, if Tiuliulin looks good enough and you think he won the first, this is a good live bet spot. Take a look at what Park's odds are. He's minus 2 something right now. Maybe you get him at even money after 1 when you know Tiuliulin is known to fade.
I like that a lot, actually. That's a good spot because Tiuliulin really is. I think he's better than his record does indicate. You know, he had to fight a lot of these grapplers that were actually pretty high level guys. We're seeing, what's that guy's name? The one that's off the Dana White Contender Series. He'll be making his debut soon. The hell was his name? Alice Garoff is the guy who submitted him pre UFC in round 3. So it seems like, you know, Tiuliulin on paper, he looks like he's, you know, early knockout or bust, but really it's a lot of grapplers he's had to fend off that are taking him down, wearing him out. Jun Park does have that skill set, but is he going to use it here? I'm not so sure for some reason. Like, I feel like Jun Park can get in those firefights and engage. If it's dirty and he's trapped against the cage, I think Tiuliulin can use that size and tee off on him and do pretty well early. But Jun Park, he's got that durability, so only ever put out by strikes by RoboCop. I think he survives, and you're right. If you can get a better price on him, maybe even a slight plus number in round 2 if he loses the first one badly and then takes over. I like that a lot. So I'm with you.
What have we learned about Tiuliulin through 2 fights? He lost to a guy he should have lost to.
Yeah, he fought one of the best prospects and one of the worst like roster guys.
And then he went out and he fought like a scrub and he dominated him. So the thing is did we learn anything? So if we didn't, you have to go to his tape for the UFC where he's kind of a mess. I mean, he's kind of like, you know, he's like any of these dudes that has power and can beat anybody in the regionals, but it's so that I don't like when I don't like, at least with Park, I think we know exactly what we're getting at this point.
Yeah, he's got a lot of high-level experience, and yeah, you're totally right. Like, I didn't even really think about that right now. Like, what a complete end of the spectrum difference that was in Junior and the hell's his name? Dennis Tiuliulin's appearances, right?
That's Monk's boy, by the way.
He fought on short notice a guy who is actually doing pretty well, and then he fought Jamie Pickett, and I'm laughing because I did trust Jamie Pickett in that fight to use his reach or at least close the distance and clinch up the way he can, you know, wear himself on people. Jamie Pickett is not a good fighter, but in that matchup, I just felt like there was an easy game plan to clinch up and or stay at range.
What's Pickett's reward for that loss? Bo Nickel.
Yeah,
Bo Nickel next.
That was actually that Jamie Pickett fight with Tiuliulin. That was like a body strike, wasn't it? Because he got yam-bagged like twice, like once or twice. I think he faked the first yam-bag, then got yam-bagged for real the second time.
I don't tolerate fake yam-baggery, but but Tiuliulin looked good from the jump in that fight too. I mean, he was right away. He was on him. He showed urgency. If he shows urgency here, I mean, I saw somebody in chat. CJP says he's like got Tiuliulin for 165. Yep. I'll say this right now, for all the logic I gave as to why I like the Iron Turtle here, there's a part of my instinctually, there's a part of me that feels like this might be a trap. So, like, I don't hate people for being on the Tiuliulin side. I just anything I've seen in his 2 fights doesn't change how I felt about him before the Kizria fight, because I don't know how to learn from those 2.
The money line on Park seems like it's about right around that minus 200-ish mark. So now that it's moved even more in his favor, I don't like it and I haven't played it, but I do like his skill set. I think he wins. I mean, all of the finishes, I mean, you're right. Like, it's one guy that's patient in Jun Park and one guy that seems like he's pretty either finished or gets finished in Tiuliulin. The under looks like it would be a good play, but I can't see a situation where it's always going to go that way, both sides contributing. So we're on the same side for that one, but as far as like the props, I don't know.
Tiuliulin, I don't think has decision equity.
No.
But Park has, I mean, again, he sometimes, Joseph Holmes has no defense at all. That neck was just right there. Yeah,
it was terrible.
But I mean, Joseph Holmes has no defense, and he just, the neck was right there. But most guys, they kind of fight him off. Like, Park doesn't have, like, his Iron Turtle doesn't have the iron choke.
No. But it'll be interesting. I think the best thing we gained from this is definitely the what Mushroom put in the chat was round 3 Park or decision for Park. I like that combo quite a bit. You get the late finish or just the decision, but I'm staying off of that one altogether. We can move on to one of the more exciting fights. The women got to be represented on this card. We got one women's fight out of the 12, and they chose South Korea's Ji-Yeon Kim at flyweight to take on the German Mandy Bohm. Both of these women are combined for, I believe, a 6-fight losing streak. So it's been a while since the 9-6-2 draw record of Ji-Yeon Kim has seen a victory. She is 3-6 in the UFC, taking on Mandy Bohm, who's had 2 appearances and lost both of them. So Mandy Bohm just came off of fighting Victoria Leonardo and losing that fight, which if you're going to win a fight in the women's division at flyweight, it's got to be over. You got to beat Victoria Leonardo if you're going to advance and be anything. So, you know, I think she decisively lost that fight, and I don't think she wins this fight. I think Ji Yeon Kim is the better experienced fighter. I think she's got the better wins, the experience, the output, the technique. But the problem is you're making me look at a giant money line on her right now at like what, minus 260, minus 280. What is she? She's something ridiculous, isn't she?
She's minus 275 on my book.
Yeah, and, minus 275 for Ji Yeon Kim on a giant losing streak.
On a heater.
Four fight losing streak to Alexa Grasso, Molly McCann, Priscilla Cachoeira, which you could give her that one in some worlds, but the Edwards fight, I think she decisively lost, even though that one was a split. So
yeah, that's a weird judging. I thought she lost that too.
Yeah. It's funny because the one that I thought should have been her win was the unanimous decision loss to Cachoeira, but Zombie Girl prevails. One thing you can say about these two women is they've never been finished before. That's not bad, you know. Both of them do have like that lack of grappling defense. So if one of these two women want to pull like a new wrinkle into their skill set, they could probably dominate the other if they choose to try to clinch up and take this fight to the ground. But I don't see Ji Yeon Kim switching up her game, doing a 180 there. Mandy Bohm, if anybody, might, you know, have room to improve since she is primarily Muay Thai. But still, she's just so sloppy. Her range management is not very good. I think Ji Yeon Kim wins the decision, but I know your favorite prop on fights like these is fight goes to split, which you usually get around plus 300, plus 400.
Not
on this one. Who do you think dominates this fight?
You know, when I first looked at this, I'm like, you know, you're instinctually thinking this line is wide because you're looking at like how is she in the minus 200 range over anybody. The problem is I don't know what Bohm's path would be. Her cardio is not good, and her volume is low. So even if she goes to takedowns, she's going to gas out in the first round. She's not like all of a sudden some sub wizard on the ground. Like she'd have to get a takedown and get ground and pound, and I don't see it. And if this thing gets out of the first round, you know, the one thing I'll say about Kim is that her volume, you know, even in her losses, her volume is pretty good. Like I'm just pulling up right now, but like the Cachoeira fight, she had crazy volume, like
close to 200 strikes. Wasn't it like 170?
170 landed against at Edwards 78 against Molly McCann 122. And you know, knowing now that like how Molly McCann is on the feet, that's not a bad effort at all. 68 against Grasso, who I think is a good boxer. I mean, 80 against Kazam, whatever. Kazam's a bum, but her volume's never been a problem.
And Nadia Kassem, she's the one who got finished by that body strike, right? Didn't she try to like get that fast sucker punch in off the glove touch?
And Effie's asking if the loser's getting cut. Like, I mean, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they asked Bohm back. I mean, I get like, you know, South Korean card, like I understand that, but Bohm, they only must have asked Bohm back to be like, look, this is the person on the roster we think you can beat. And again, it's like outside of a flash KO, which, I mean, you watch Bohm's regional tape, like she's got some decent kicks, but no clam bags on this card.
I think Bohm's best path would be to get this close, not even keep it at range. Get it close, use the Muay Thai, knees to the body, knees. But
does she have the cardio to consistently do it? And I don't know that she does.
Not.
That's what I'm worried
saw her
about.
fight. Her fight before the UFC, like 3 fights ago in Bellator, man, she barely made it out of that fight against somebody who's pretty low level. So I don't know. It's going to be a fun fight. Like I was talking to Brady about earlier, like this is the fight that's devolved into. It's actually kind of an exciting fight to see who comes out on top of this one. And I'm kind of rooting for Mandy Bohm just because she's such an oddly sized underdog here. You know, I just don't think anybody should be betting Ji Yeon Kim, you know, who's on a 4-fight losing streak at that number. But, you know, I do think she wins. I think we listed out a lot of pros in her column and not a lot of pros in the Mandy Bohm column. So, yeah, I don't know. Ji Yeon Kim by decision, but
much like the Nunez Farron fight, public service announcement, you don't have to bet this fight.
You don't have to bet it, yeah. But I know on this card, there's going to be a lot of people trying to, you know, juice up some parlays, try to get some stuff together. You know, there'll be like a Ji Yeon Kim, Tetsuro Taira, Rinya Nakamura parlay or something like that out there. I don't know. Who knows? But, yeah, It's an exciting fight from the perspective of I just want to see exactly how bad.
Go parlay like Fedor doesn't go the
Bohm.
distance or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right. Hey, where's that fight taking place, by the way? The Bellator card, is that here in the United States?
it is. It's on CBS, which is pretty cool.
Oh,
like,
that's right. Yeah,
they put on it's like Habasi and Brendan Ward, which should be like as hilarious for as long as it lasts. Eblin's defending, which is cool. Like it's a good card, like some good dog shots on the undercard. But yeah, I mean, like they're running that, like I think it's at 9:00 Eastern on CBS. So like
yeah.
I think there's only 3 fights scheduled for TV. So I don't know how
okay.
much of it's gonna blend into, I don't know if any of it's gonna blend into the pay-per-view. I mean, Eblin's probably gonna take 25 minutes. So I imagine some of it's gonna blend into like the Taira fight. And maybe the Tiuliulin.
That's cool. We get
that's great.
That on prime
So
time.
and that starts
awesome.
at 6 p.m. So
yeah,
Jared Bates dog shot on the undercard, man, plus 300.
Yeah, there's some good spots there. I need to look into the. I don't even know what the odds are for a lot of those fights. I have opinions on them, but I don't have like this based on a betting perspective. But
it'll tide you over. It can tide you over.
Yeah, it'll be the pregame watching Fedor take one last walk, I suppose. You think he's serious about retiring? I know he's up there, but yeah. I feel like in his region of the world, there's always spots for Fedor to find fights, and he can always find a way to go out on a win. They'll just set something up for him.
I always respect him. I mean, like I always liked watching his fights, but I mean, he's definitely like. I think the problem is like he's been slow for years, but all of a sudden he can't take hits like he used to, and I think he's getting to that point now.
The fact that it's not in Russia makes me think he's probably gonna, get.
I mean, I'm sure. Here. Like if he went to like Northeast Philly, there's tons of Russians there, like tons. Like Mushroom knows he could have gone to like the Russian section of the Northeast Philly and felt right at home.
Fun facts. Oh yeah, what's going on? MMA Jesus, my guy Dev. Everybody go check out his YouTube channel. I'm sure him and Sell the Red already put a breakdown out. I got to check that out.
Oh, he changed his name. Is that Dev the dude? A lot of
dogs. That's Dev the dude.
Okay, change. I like the name change. It's good.
Yeah. All right. So we got the first of the 4 Road to the UFC finales here, featuring these Asian gentlemen. We got South Korea versus South Korea here in the flyweight finale. Hyun-Sung Park taking on Seung-Guk Choi at flyweight. And this is probably the fight out of these 4 finale fights I have the least amount of like confidence in picking. I am on the Seung-Guk Choi side, which I know is not a popular pick this week, but based on the limited knowledge of these two guys in their mid to late 20s at flyweight, they both have 7 professional fights, a pretty good record for Park, 7-0, 6-1 for Choi. I think Park looks like the technically better fighter, to be honest. Like he looks like he does things better, but I just see this more of like a springiness, more of an in and out movement, more of mixing up the takedown attempts, the grappling attempts with the striking. I think he's more unpredictable for Seung-Guk Choi. And I feel like this should be closer to like a pick'em price tag. Am I far off on that? Or do you have a more strong lean on this fight?
Well, the line has moved toward Choi. So he definitely got some action earlier in the week.
Really?
If you just look at the numbers, forget about like looking at the tape and anything else. Choi, the fight goes the distance is plus 150, or fight doesn't go is plus 150. You would think that all the finish equity is for Hyun-Sung Park because Choi seems to be he's a little more plotting, but he's happy to get takedowns. His top control is not great, but it seems like his cardio is really good. It's on point. He's happy to continue to go to get position to win minutes. With fight doesn't go the distance at plus 150, you'd think that favors a Choi like win, but I can't bet this one because first of all, I think the nickname peace of mind is awful for this industry.
Who is that? Is that Park?
Yeah, that's a terrible nickname. He looks the part, but he hasn't really shown, like, we don't really know what he looks like extended. And I think Choi can extend him at least to the middle of the second round, late second round.
That's part of my rationale as well, because you've got 7-0
it doesn't mean he doesn't have good.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean he doesn't have good cardio.
They're at flyweight too, so you would assume that they can at least go. But Hyun-Sung Park, we're talking about finishing equity. 6 finishes, 3 knockouts, 3 subs out of his 7 wins, whereas Choi has actually been a decision 5 times, won 4 of those. So that's something to consider too.
Now, I want to bring up something about the betting strategy in general. So I think you and I talked about this. So, every year, because I bet multiple sports, but and I try, every year rules change, like trends change, whatever. You're always trying to refine the process. So one thing I told you at the beginning of the year was one of the things that killed me last year was trying to cheat these lines and bet in the distance props against undefeated fighters, even if they're fighting regional guys, because we just don't know what they're made of. And we saw it the first week with Rebecca, like not getting to finish, people betting in the distance there.
That hurt.
The Fiore survived. And the other guy, I can't remember his name, but it happened with me with like Evan Elder, like surviving against Preston Parsons. Like the guy's in a chokehold for 13 minutes and he survived. Yeah. You just don't know how like these guys respond. So you're looking at a guy who's 7-0, so he's clearly never been finished, and Choi's 6-1, and he lost in a decision in his second fight. So, excuse me. So this fight doesn't go the distance prop at plus 150 is playing into the fact that they think they're both pretty durable. If they're both pretty durable, I'd lean Choi as the bet. I won't get there on this fight, but his win condition and his line kind of lines up with these props, these time props.
Yeah, that's a good point. And
I wish he had more volume. They're both defensively irresponsible, by the way. Let me just say this. I don't love their ceilings going forward.
Park got dropped from that Muay Thai guy in his last fight instantly. He got dropped like a minute in, came back, and then got the guys back easily and choked him out. So I do along those lines. I saw Dev in the chat saying he's got Park via sub. I really do think it's Park via sub, or I think it's Choi decision is like the two worlds I see most happening here. I think Park does have the better grappling, but he doesn't seem urgent to use it all of the time. Sometimes the fights just like sort of end up there in a scramble. He gets the advantageous position. He's more one at a time with his striking, I've noticed in a lot of his recent fights as well, whereas Choi is all over the place. He's diving for legs. He's throwing strikes up top after feinting a takedown. I just like the unpredictability, but again, it's not something I'm strong enough on where I want to take that plus 150 on Choi's money line as a dog, to be honest, because I just don't have a good read for it. I want to learn more about these guys at 125, but just at flyweights, just like this is a sport. So even though I'm seeing Sung Park is the better fighter technically, I think Choi just like does the MMA blending the skills together. I feel like it's more of a point fighting style at flyweight that's important to me. So I like the fact he's been to decision. Where do you line on this? Do you think Park wins most of the time, or who are you picking here?
I mean, I honestly like on the feet. There's the lack of defense for me is just such a red flag on both. Park throws more. I think Park's the slicker grappler, but I really do have questions about his cardio. I don't have those questions as much with Choi. And if this thing hits the third round, give me the underdog ticket. So this is a total pass for me. I need to see more. Just nothing on this tape is making me feel so good one way or the other. And I will say that, like, all these Choi decisions, I don't know. At least it's showing that like he can kind of will his way through fights. So if this becomes some kind of weird dog fight at the end of the second, he's proven it. Where Sun Park, we'll see if things go his way. But this is a total pass for me. I'd lean dog just for the sake of the show, because I do think if it goes decision, he probably wins the third round at an 80-90% clip.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see who's going to rise from the this tournament and go into the flyweight division, because you would hope to see somebody super dominant come through and have room to grow at flyweight at this point, since we're seeing, I mean, what the hell? The upper echelon, we're seeing 4 fights between 2 guys at flyweight. I wish there was a stronger person to take the lead in that weight class. But we move on up 10 pounds to the finale for the bantamweights. This is your favorite fighter you want to see, Rinya Nakamura. Big favorite here in this tournament. He's an undefeated wrestler, taking on Toshiomi Kazama. So this is a classic, freestyle wrestling international champion in Nakamura. Big favorite, undefeated, taking on a jiu-jitsu fighter who's 10-2 and has really slick submissions off of his back. Kazama is dangerous on top and off of his back. Good triangles, good shoulder locks from all positions. And he's a big underdog here. So it's always interesting when you see the wrestler who probably is going to take it to the mat at some point, into the danger zone, so to speak, of his opponent here. But he's still a big minus 425 or more favorite for Nakamura. but I do like the guy. Southpaw, he can switch stances pretty well occasionally. Very good hands. You saw him get a knockout among the series there. So he just seems more athletic to me, faster, powerful everywhere this fight goes, and I think he can stay safe in the ground. So I do like Nakamura to win here. I'm going to call it by knockout, honestly. I think he does it pretty early. Who do you see, do you see any dangerous spots here for Nakamura? Do you think he's going to dive his head into a guillotine or get subbed? Like how much do you credit the submission prowess off of his back from Kazama? Do you think that's worth a stab?
His dad's in the chat right now, Shinsuke Nakamura, former WWE Intercontinental Champion, former IWGP World and Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura.
We are.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. So what makes me upset here is I mentioned when we started, not upset. When we started, I said, I think we're going to see the loser of this fight in the UFC at some point soon. I think Kazama, it's a shame that they're matching him up because I think Kazama's super fun to watch. I think he's going to get a lot of wins. His style's great.
Yeah.
He's aggressive on the ground.
And only 25, only 25 years old.
And look, in any other fight, he's, at this stage of experience, he's going to have a wrestling advantage. This is just such a bad stylistic matchup for him. The striking, we talked about these wrestlers like Taira, like Bo Nickel. Nakamura is another guy. These guys that have this like incredibly strong wrestling background, even if their striking's not super refined, their hands are just, it's like getting hit by an anvil. His striking is pretty goddamn refined for a guy at his experience level. I love what I see. There's short punches on the ground too. It doesn't look like he's ever exerting a ton of energy. Like everything he throws looks hard, but he's not winding up throwing it like a baseball from 350 feet. It's
true.
Precise and powerful. No wasted movement from this guy. Probably gets a ground and pound. Inside the distance is minus 135. I already loaded up on that as soon as DraftKings put it up. Fight doesn't start round 3, minus 165. I have that parlayed with the Taira under. If you want to bet a money line at minus 435, I mean, I don't really love those kind of lines, but feels pretty safe to me. He's also, for anybody watching this that's a DFS player, he's the anchor of 100% of my lineups. Like, he's $300 cheaper than Taira. He's not even finish dependent to put up like a monster number because he could have 15 minutes of control time and just throwing 150 strikes while he's got top control. I'm very excited to see what his ceiling is in the UFC. I'm definitely looking forward to this fight more. This and the next one we will get to, or maybe 2 fights from now, the internet divisive fight of the week.
Nakamura established such a strong side control too. I think he'll stay safe. And what do you think about Nakamura even getting a submission of his own?
That's why I'm just playing in the distance. I mean, his KO props plus 110, but
I mean, like the prop itself for submission is like it's up there. Isn't it like plus 500 or something, maybe even more?
I think it's priced strangely because he did get a key lock in the first fight, and this is going to be a fight that's probably
plus 800. Nakamura by submission plus 800.
I mean, I love the stab at it. It's going to be fought. You have to think it's going to be fought primarily on the ground. People that are thinking he's going to get a knockout, it's probably going to come from mount. It's going to come from mount, or he's going to just get his back and start wailing on him.
Yeah,
I don't know why the sub's not live here. The strange thing is where the sub's probably most live. If he gets on bottom, like if Kazama gets on top and he's looking for a sweep or he's trying to get out of it, like I know he's not playing armbar from guard, but
these Asian fighters love their shoulder locks from all positions, man. They love it. They love cranking on the shoulder. It really is. What I did here is fights like this where I'm expecting violence. Bovada opens up, and so does BetOnline. They open it up pretty fast, like the fight doesn't go, but Bovada misprices it a lot of the time. I got minus 170 for the under 2.5 on this one. So I played that one just because it'll cover the Hail Mary submission from Kazama, but it'll also cover the knockout, the submission, just the general beating I expect Nakamura to put on.
205 on DraftKings for under 2.5.
Yeah, okay. And even that's not a bad price, too.
That's why I tried to cut it down with the fight doesn't start round 3 and save 40 cents. But I mean, honestly, if it hits the 3rd round, I'm probably fucked.
I also have I've got Nakamura parlayed with that first fight of the night. Taira. The Taira fight doesn't go that we were talking about. They're the under 2.5 at minus 155. I have that parlayed with Nakamura. So pretty confident in this guy. Like you, he's anchored to a lot of different plays and excited to see another What does the bantamweight division in the UFC need? It needs more talent, right?
He
Certainly
he
needs
is
more
going to
talent.
be. Oh, he is going to be. I think he's going to be a fan favorite in America too. I really do. People are going to gravitate toward his style.
They're like, wrestling. I know what this is.
He's. I'll tell you what else. Like, he's 27. I know he's just starting his journey, but he's not coming in as like a super young prospect. He's pretty well grounded from his wrestling experience. Like, he seems mature. I think he's going to do well business-wise here too. I think people are going to love this guy.
Yeah, and he spent a lot of time in the States.
Yeah, Renya Nakamadov. Yeah, I think Aaron compared them to, just my 2 cents could confirm. I think Aaron compared him to like Japanese Khabib, or
I like it.
Or like he said, he's kind of like a Japanese Khabib, and you see that style where he's like, just once he gets his arms around you, it's like he just ragdolls you and throws some punches in, stays busy, ragdolls you, punches, ragdolls. Oh shit,
he's good, man.
Oh shit, Johnny.
Oh, Johnny K, what's going on? Johnny K picks. Sorry, I'm late to the party. You're never late to the party, Johnny. It starts when you arrive, my friend. It starts when Johnny K walks in. Always good to see you. And moving up one more weight class, we're going to the favorite, most anticipated fighter on this road to the UFC tournament for me. We just had Lou's favorite with Nakamura. I'm excited for Jung Lee at featherweight. This guy looks like he's got a ton of power, and he's kind of got this mystique to him. He always looks like he knows something his opponents and the audience does not. He seems very calm and composed. He's taking on the Chinese Jia Yi, who is a 21-3 professional, which is an amazing record for Jia Yi, who's coming out of that WLF promotion. For most of his pro experience, we've seen some other guys from that Asian market come out of. But Jung Lee, 9-1 record. Now he's got 7 finishes within those 10 fights, 4 knockouts, and his hands are deadly. And on this road to the UFC bracket, he's gotten, his last 3 fights, he's been in the cage less than 90 seconds. So around 1 armbar, around 1 knockout.
The armbar was very slick too, by the way.
That was slick. And it was locked out and already hyperextending the elbow by the time the guy even knew what was happening. So got the belly down, had gravity help him push that elbow through the wrong side of the man's arm. So that was pretty nice. And Jung Lee is 5'10" as well. He'll have a marked size advantage at featherweight. But he's a minus 280 favorite at this point. So on a guy who we've only seen, less than 2 minutes of in his last 3 fights. There were some layoff times before that. He's a young guy at 27. Jia Yi is also 26, but there's some stuff from Jung Lee I still want to see. I want to see his defensive grappling a bit more. That's the big question in this fight, because I think Jia Yi has to get this fight to the mat, and that's where he's going to stay safe and win the fight. Jung Lee, he's not totally finish or bust. I don't know if you watched this fight from a few years back, but he fought this guy named Choi. And Jung Lee had fought like a war with this guy for 3 rounds and kicked his ass and got a second wind going into round 2 and 3 and showed that his power does translate late into a fight in round 3. So I'm not worried about the cardio for these guys too much. I like Jung Lee here, but the money line, I don't know. I'd probably play him inside the distance, which is closer to minus 130. What do you like about this fight? Do you think the underdog at plus 210, plus 230 for Jia Yi has got a chance to impose the grappling?
No, and his record is very padded.
No, just a fat no. It is padded.
It's very padded, and if you get, look, there's not a full library on them, but some of these fights, I think it was the Chao Ji fight. I always want to call it MILF Wars because that's what it looks like when you first glance at it.
Yeah, MILF Wars.
It's he's getting rocked in a few of these fights and he's coming back, but he's getting rocked by bums. He really is getting rocked by cans. He got knocked out not that long ago. 2 years ago, he got knocked out. Start the second round on another MILF card here.
Yeah.
He even got rocked by Matsushima. It's not a good look. his defense is crappy, and Lee's not the guy you want to do that against because this guy's got a depth touch. Now he's another guy where I don't know what his ceiling is, but he's going to be one of these guys. I think anybody that's beneath him, he's going to just absolutely destroy.
He's hittable. He's hittable is the problem. He likes violence. He likes to get into wars, which worries me moving forward for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think Jia Yi is the kind of opponent that can really capitalize. If this becomes an insane firefight, I don't like his chances here. So I think this is a round 1 spot. I don't bet round ones because,
like
right,
Mushroom
like,
just said, round 2 because it pays more.
Right. Like, I don't really like betting those round ones, but I'd be shocked if this thing got out of the first round. Under 1.5 is probably all right. You could same game it if you wanted to cut that number down, but I think he just knocks him out. I think he gets it done.
I'm glad we're on the same side for that one. I'm excited for it too.
I mean, like, again, and if
I like the composure of Jung Lee. He just seems like he's really focused. He's really in it. He's so confident in his power and his skill set. I love it.
And like some people, the Korean Tiger, by the way, is a great nickname, but like, again, like we're flying blind in a lot of ways when we first start capping these because it's like a contender series card. So we have limited knowledge and like you have to read into things right. But it's one of these things where like you see 21-3 and you're like, like immediately like that grabs your attention with the relative experience that most people have in this tournament. But man, I mean, this is like the Askarov, kind of like it not padding. I mean, these are legit wins, I would think, but plus anytime I see somebody with a title belt in their picture on Tapology, it's like an immediate something's up. Point. It's like, well, bro, you don't need your belt. But I just think, he gets hit too much for me. And man, if Lee this dude's got some serious fucking power, man.
I'd be really skeptical of Jung Lee if it wasn't for that fight I watched where he did go all 3 rounds. He got hit, he recovered, he got knocked down even and recovered right away. His composure is so good, and he just really seems like he's having a good time in there when he's beating people up. And I don't think he's one of these guys where it's like, I don't think he intends to end these fights as quickly as he does. Like it just kind of happens in the middle of a war that, his opponent can't handle. So I'm on him here. I'm not on the money line. I haven't gotten to a bet on this fight yet, but I do like the fight doesn't go, and I like the the inside the distance for Jung Lee.
I don't like having this many favorites. You know that. But
no, certainly don't.
It's gonna change soon. Don't worry about it. See Easy's in the chat. What's up, my man?
Let's see here. Oh yeah, what's going on? Let's go. Yeah, yo, what's up, fellas? DFS Whispers.
Manchester United going to the finals of the EFL Cup. Him and I are very happy right now.
Oh, really? Well, congratulations on that.
Our boys. We're not there. We're not there
yet. We're there now.
Tell Mushroom to get it.
We're going to go to the 155-pound division.
Pat, I created a monster.
2 guys. You did create a monster with Mushroom. By the way, I want to get both of you guys on the show. That'll be awesome. You and Mushroom coming here and break down some fights. He promised
me a strip club trip. So, we'll do it remote from the strip club.
That would be awesome. Speaking of strip club, we should have had a little bit classier than that. We should have that sushi woman with all the food on her, all the sushi on her when we watch these fights. We'd have like a live watch along with that. But instead of like I don't want to objectify women. There's only one women's fight on her. Let's just have Chase Sherman or somebody or Jared Vandera. We'll just put sushi all over him. Sit him down in front of us and we'll watch the fight.
Yeah, I'm sure Jenna would love that.
We gotta cater to the one female viewer I have on here.
I like that Charlie. If you guys don't know, we're talking about It's Always Sunny. I like that Charlie. He's one of these guys that, because he's talking to Japanese people, decided that he had to talk to them like this. And
Charlie, what are you speaking broken English for? It's like I thought they could understand me more better.
You're fired.
I love that. That's why I had to include that when I was giving the promo on Twitter for that show. That's what I thought about when I was trying to pronounce these names for my breakdown. I felt like I was Charlie in that bit. Yeah, maybe we'll have. Yeah, let's put some sushi and Parker Porter. That's a good one. We'll just get some sex appeal in here. But anyways, last of the finale bouts for this road to the UFC. We've got 2 guys from countries that I don't think there's any fighters from the UFC from India. I know we had KB Buller and we had the other guy, I think his name was Buller as well, but they're both Canadian-born Indians.
I'm shocked there's no Indonesians. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and then we got the first Indonesian fighter in Jeka Saragih, who's taken on Anshul Jubli, the Indian. Both of these guys, pretty good records. Anshul Jubli is a guy where he looks very talented at 6-0 for having picked up mixed martial arts like only a few years ago. So he doesn't have like a real specialty. I think he might have started with boxing, but Jubli doesn't have like one thing he leans on. He seems very comfortable to grapple, very eager to strike. Jeka Saragih, massive power, 13-2 record, kung fu background for this guy. They're both 28. They're both, pretty good sized guys at 155. Of course, 5'8", so a little bit shorter for Saragih. But I was surprised that Jeka Saragih was plus 105. I think you can still find him at plus 100 on a lot of books. I was surprised that he was not the favorite in this matchup for all the experience. He's on a 5-fight win streak. He had that sick knockout on the bracket already. You know, that round 1 knockout over what the hell is that guy's name? One Kun B or something like that. Bin Key. Remember that satisfying knockout where he just like aimed up the perfect right cross and just knocked him out silly? It reminded me of Kung Lee knocking out Rich Franklin a while back on that overseas card. It was just that perfect, clean, crisp, head spinning around in the spine knockout. And he had a round 3 spinning back fist knockout in the fight before that. So I'm not getting this money line. Like I put 2 units on Jeka. No, I put 1.5 units on Jeka Saragih at plus 105. You know, it's just a spot where I think he's the faster man with the better skill set. I mean, can you explain this money line? Why should Jubli be the favorite in this bout?
So this is your Twitter fight of the week where everybody has a pretty strong opinion on it.
Yeah.
So I see it from both sides, but I'm with you on the Jeka Saragih side. I'll get to that in a second. With Jubli, what I like is, and he's so inexperienced. He's so ahead of where he should be for his experience level. He's calm. He's technical. What I don't like is he did show some flaws in his cardio last fight with the grappling. Jaka's a little wild. He's a wild man. If I'm him, I would avoid the grappling altogether here. I know he has the ability to mix it in, but if I were him, I think it's a tremendous disadvantage to do it. I would consider just getting him against the cage and trying to sap Jubli's strength. I'm going to tell you why I like Jaka. This isn't as a handicapper. Sometimes you just got to make a pick based on, reasons you got to make a pick. He's like Indonesian Billy Quarantillo to me. He's like that kind of like, I don't give a shit about defense. I'm going to throw crazy shit. And if it doesn't work in the first round, I'm going to throw crazier shit in the second round. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to throw crazier shit in the third. His cardio is good. His power carries. And he's one of these guys like, look, the spinning back fist, it's like, like the highlight reel knockout. It's great. But he wasn't throwing a bunch of spinning attacks and then he landed one. He timed it perfectly. He had landed a few shots before that to set it up. He's that kind of Billy Q type of fighter where like, he's like, okay, like the fight's going to get hairy. Like I'm fucking here for it. And the one thing that Jubli showed me is that if that cardio wanes again in the third round, who do you want to ticket on? The crazy guy that is going for a finish in the third, or a guy kind of holding on, maybe trying to get it against the cage, trying to get it to the ground just to waste time off the clock. This is not a knock on Jubli. And whoever you bet in this, I see both sides of this. For me, I'm betting the guy that I think is more exciting, that has finish equity more. I think Jubli is more of a decision equity guy here. I'm not saying he can't get a finish, but if this thing goes with decision, it's probably because he controlled the first 2 rounds and then survived. But man, I mean, Saragih is so fun. Like, if the whole point of this tournament is like kind of like if you're trying to promote the region, you want fun guys. I think they're both going to be seen again. I think Jubli is going to put in a nice effort. I'm hesitant to even, I said I don't want to bet in the distance against a 6-0 guy. I can't do it with Jaka.
Neither do I.
But I think he could hurt him bad, and I think he could compromise him in his cardio. Like I said, his last fight, man, it was not a good look in the third round. So I can't say that about Jake.
No, it was he really had to get his head back in the game in between rounds in that fight, shake it off. But I am really impressed with Jubli. Like I said, I mean, it's all in that context of knowing how new to the sport he really is, though, is why I'm impressed with him, because it seems like he's taking to all of his skills. And along that line, I mean, 6-0 record, new to the sport in the past 5-6 years, if that. He's going to be rapidly improving,
He'll grow. He'll grow rapidly.
Yeah, exactly. And he's, like I said, along that, he doesn't have like a specialty. He's not trying to only get it to the ground, although it seems he prefers that in a lot of fights I've seen. But his boxing is really good, mixes up the targets well. Jubli's got a good, ability to rip to the body. But I just see Saragih as the guy who's more specialized. And
does he remind you of anybody? Like, can you compare him to somebody on the roster? Because it's somebody he reminds me of. I don't want it to sound wrong, but there's somebody who reminds me of a lot style-wise.
Who is it? Because I can't really think of anybody.
He kind of reminds me of Bilal Muhammad, where I think his striking is good enough to do whatever he wants. If he wants to keep it on the feet and keep it at distance, he wants to use his striking to get in. And then when he gets on the ground, Bilal Muhammad is so good at staying out of trouble. Like, very good positionally, knows when to take advantage with strikes. Like, I love Bilal Muhammad. I bet this is a tremendous compliment to compare that style.
I get what you mean, and I agree with that.
I think his fight IQ,
very good generalist. Yeah.
I think his fight IQ is similar. The cardio is the issue for me. And against a guy who, if I'm calling him Indonesian Billy Q, cardio ain't a problem here.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to James in the chat. Very good to have you. And also my friend Zach Singleton saying, my guys, he's late. I'll restart. And all the way down here, we got Uncle Weezy. What's going on, fellas? How you doing, Uncle Weezy? Very good to see you in the chat. Hope you're enjoying breaking down this fight all week. And I think this is like an Uncle Weezy card. Like, I feel like he is very good at breaking down fights with I know he kind of redid. He did his Oh yeah, he redid his stats a little bit for all of these fighters. We don't have a lot of UFC experience, so
doing distance strikes. Weezy does, dude.
Yeah,
like a goddamn genius.
If you guys haven't checked out Stat Diggers this week, check that out on Pub Sports Radio with Weezy and Brady. They do great work. But yeah, the revitalized Uncle Weezy spent a lot of time on that off week fixing up all of those stats. I know it takes hours and hours of work.
His dad's birthday. He said it was his dad's birthday, but realistically. He just didn't want to do the Pub Sports Show tonight, so I had to fill in for him.
Oh, okay, there we go. You had big shoes to fill, my friend. Hope you did.
He's like the hell. Job. He's like the hell with this card in the DFS show.
Yeah. No, that was actually a very good comparison to Bilal Muhammad. You're right. Like, anybody who's just like very comfortable in any position in a fight. I like Jubli, but yeah, we got the bet 1.5 units plus 105 on the slight underdog.
It's going to be an awesome. I think it's going to be a great fight. Like, it's going to be so much. See, I'm going to be less invested than you, just because it's too many unknowns. But this is going to be a lot of fun.
It was a spot where, like, especially like, and we might see, like I said, we might see an entirely different version, a more improved Jubli in this fight. But it's a spot where I thought that I was going to see a number that was a minus 150 favorite on Saragih. So when I see plus money on something I feel is that way after taping it, I got to take the stab on it. So
it's a solid fight on just one last thing with it. It's a solid fight on DraftKings as well, because I know you don't like do lineups. But this is the fight where they're the closest line salary-wise, the 8,200 versus 8,000 fight. And whoever wins this fight is going to score really well. So, like, you're going to want to play. If you guys watch, like, play DraftKings, like, there's Easy with DFS Whispers. He bet Indonesian Billy Q in the distance. You guys can, Weezy, you can steal Indonesian Billy Q as well if you want. Whoever wins this fight's going to score well. You have to if you're going to do multiple lineups, you have to play both sides of this fight. You have to. Because if Jubli wins, he got a ton of takedowns. He got a ton of control time, a lot of strikes on the ground. Even if the third round's kind of dicey, he's going to get over 100 points. And Jacob does have, I'm not betting like I don't like the ITD against undefeated fighter, but he's got fight ending ability at any moment of that fight. So.
Yeah, I mean, fight ending ability. If you didn't see that last knockout with that rear cross,
Easy's going to send me a message. I'll guarantee you, Easy's going to send me a message the next 24 hours being like, I'm stealing this fucking hand.
It's been stolen. But we've done it, Lou. We've gotten through the prelims. We got 28 live viewers in the chat. Shout out to all of you guys. It's always good to see everybody in here hanging out, talking fights after a week off. I've missed you guys. We've got the main card with Yasako Kinoshita off the Dana White Contender Series making a debut against Adam Fugitt, who is in his second fight here, Adam Fugitt. So Adam Fugitt's 12 years older. A pretty big underdog here at like plus 250, plus 270. Kinoshita, north of minus 300 on the money line. Kinoshita looked pretty good on the Contender Series, scoring that round 3 TKO. His boxing looks very good. He only has one loss, and that was in Risen for grabbing the ropes and face stomping a guy unconscious. Grabbing the cage and face stomping a guy unconscious. And he had already won that fight. He just got a yam bag, a fence yam bag technicality, and they called the unconscious deceased guy the winner of that fight. So that's the only loss for Kinoshita. But I like the guy a lot. But in terms of this giant money line,
what was he DQ'd for? Not the stomps, for grabbing the cage during the stomp.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So. I mean, he was like celebrated as the winner, he was like celebrating, popping champagne, and then they had to break the news to him that he lost the fight for that, and he was like, "What the hell?" So I gotta say though, this is Southpaw versus Southpaw. It's gonna be an awkward fight because you've got the young 22-year-old Kinoshita, Japanese prospect here. Doesn't have a whole lot of experience. He looks very good, but you got this awkward style in front of you of Adam Fugitt, who's got a variety of martial arts backgrounds, Muay Thai, some grappling. His striking is powerful. He's a little bit too hittable for my liking, but the guy's seen a lot with an 8-3 record, a Muay Thai background as well, like I mentioned. He's just so awkward. I feel like this awkward kid is very live at this money line to make it a challenging night for Kinoshita, especially if Kinoshita can't get the job done early in this fight. So I am liking just the plus 270 is where I got it. I put 3/4 of a unit on Fugitt. I took the stab on that underdog. I think it's a mispriced line. You saw Adam Fugitt take Michael Morales, who's a stud, to the 3rd round, and actually give him
on 4 days notice.
On 4 days notice in a debut spot against undefeated killer in Michael Morales, who I think is going to be a problem at welterweight. So give me Fugitt. If he can even give some of the same problems he did to Michael Morales to Kinoshita, I think he pays for that chance on that plus 270. So what do you think about this one? Am I far off on this? Like, I know Fugitt does not have a lot of good things going for him as far as the striking goes. He's very hittable and he's been knocked out cold before, but I'm taking the stab on him.
Let's fucking go, Pat. Let's take that stab. So I am also on this side. First and foremost, this is my Yam Bags play of the day. You already got a guy that got disqualified for grabbing a cage. Lefty versus lefty. Like you said, it's awkward. But let me get to the Kinoshita side for a second, because a lot of I don't like making bets where it's an anti-bet more than it's pro somebody. But there's a couple things about Kinoshita that I don't love. I feel like they're promoting him as this Japanese Conor McGregor. What I don't like him to say. I think Fugitt's submission at plus 1100 is juicy, to be honest. He has takedown upside, but I want to go back to Kinoshita's contender series fight against Henrique Sousa. So you saw Kinoshita the first couple of minutes. He's landing everything he can, but he's not having the usual level of like dominance. And I didn't like the body language I saw from him at the end of the first round and in the second round. Yeah, he got the 3rd round finish. Sousa's not great. And this was a setup fight, to be honest. He was being brought up to set up Kinoshita. But I didn't like what I saw in terms of it didn't look like when there was adversity, he was responding well. Now, Fugitt, he beat up 70. It took, he knocked out Renfro in 75 seconds. But it's not that he beat Renfro, because Renfro, remember, the fight before that was demoralized by the greatest fighter on the UFC roster, Johnny, by God, Parsons.
Yes.
I'll know if Wheezy's still in the chat by just mentioning Johnny Parsons.
Johnny, by God.
So what I'm saying is this. This is more like I don't like what I'm seeing from Kinoshita. I think he's got potential. He's so raw in his career. He's comparable to Morales in terms of there's certain elements of their styles that are comparable, except for Morales having this wrestling background, this imaginary wrestling.
What do you think?
Background.
What do you think? Do you think the striking is similar between Kinoshita and Morales?
The looping, well, no, because Kinoshita is more of a like throwing straight shots, but the energy, the age, the frame, like there's a lot that I think is comparable. I think Morales is more of an athlete, whereas Kinoshita is more of an accurate striker. But like what I said, I really didn't like from that contender series fight is Kinoshita looked like when it wasn't going his way by the end of the first round, you could see it in his face. He's like, why haven't I won yet? Like it looked like
that's a 22-year-old who's used to winning. Yeah.
And Fugitt, I don't think he's like great. This time he's had a full camp. He's had a 9-10 week camp for this. Like he's known about this fight. He has takedown upside. He has yam bag equity because I think Kinoshita, he's leaving his fingers out when he's like throwing punches in the contender series fight. Again, he's already been disqualified. So for like crazy shit, he didn't get disqualified for not listening to a ref. He got disqualified for like trying to murder somebody, but grabbing the cage while he did it.
Yeah. Assisting his balance and stomping a man's skull into the floor.
So Fugitt has a path. And he has a path against a guy who's very inexperienced and is used to fights going exactly one way. So I'm with you on the dog shot. I took the sub prop at plus 1100, small poke. I love the unders here because if the takedowns do not work for Fugitt early, he's getting knocked the fuck out. Yeah. And I don't do prize picks because I can't. There we go. Wheezy knows. I love Parsons. I can't do prize picks in Pennsylvania, but Kinoshita under, I had it written, under 59.5 strikes feels like a lock to me.
because if he's landed anywhere near that number, Fugitt's going the fuck out, or Fugitt got him down and took control and took over. So, or locked in a sub himself. So,
yeah.
I'm taking the dog shot with you. The line's too wide. I mean, I don't love Fugitt going forward, like doing too much.
We're looking at a number right here, Lou, where it's like, yeah, I agree with everybody's love for Kinoshita. I think he's skilled. 12-year age advantage. I still might be kind of a disadvantage for his young age, but I think most of the time Kinoshita should win this fight. But we're not looking at a line that's most of the time. We're looking at a spot where he's a minus 320
crazy
favorite
implied,
or more.
I know.
Yeah, so I can start looking at this as like, oh, well, does Fugitt kind of cover some of those spots? And I really do think he is like an awkward enough fighter where, like you mentioned on the Contender Series, Kinoshita could be like, what the hell? This is not the normal fighter I'm used to fighting. This is a fellow southpaw. This is a guy who moves kind of awkwardly with his feet. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's looping a hook at me or, grabbing me to clinch up. I don't know. So I think he can make it very awkward for him if he survives, but there's a good chance he gets knocked out.
But like, here's the thing. If these guys fought like a year from now,
yeah.
We're probably both betting Kinoshita round 1.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't like the spot, and it's a spot bet more than like I think Fugitt's some like submission ace. I almost grabbed a cigarette when I read that. I'm just, I can wait.
Yeah. And what's going on, my guy, Mike, the Couch Warrior podcast, my co-host of the panel on those pay-per-view weeks. We got one coming up next week. It'll be a lot of fun.
I saw him bet Kim round 2, round 3 KO, and I was like,
ooh, yeah, he's not. This is a guy. Speaking of taking a dog on this one, I hope Mike is proud of me because this is a guy who loves taking dogs and he cashes a lot of them, man.
He's probably
Couch Warrior.
On this one.
Yeah, probably is.
I watched some of his video with Wiz the other day. Yeah, I wish we don't get prize picks in Pennsylvania. Like, it's shitty, but like
it sucks.
I look at Wiz like Wiz just like hits everything.
I'm only sort of familiar. That's where you're talking like significant strike over unders, takedown over unders, like that type of stuff.
You can bet fight. You can bet fight time too. They have fight time and they have fantasy score, which is really interesting as a prop. So you're betting like it's like a combo, of all those.
Okay, but interesting.
But like I love like the 1-2 weeks ago when I did the show, I think I subbed in for Gordo. I had under 32.5 significant strikes for Johnny Walker, but the same reasoning as Kinoshita. If he's landing 30 shots on Paul Craig's asleep,
right?
Or he's locked in some like omoplata that Craig hit from like, a contortionist position.
Yeah. Thank God that didn't happen because I had stake with Walker. Helped save. He helped salvage my night a couple weeks ago.
Craig's record went down to a 9-3 in fights he's lost. Down from 9-2 in fights he'd lost to that point.
It's a very fair way to look at it.
Ridiculous stat. It's the best stat out there.
Moving on to a very fun fight at the featherweight division, 145s. We got the returning Duho Choi, who was once a surging Asian prospect years ago, but he's coming off that 3-year-long layoff, military absence for the South Korean, taking on the Canadian Kyle Nelson, who we haven't seen since the Jai Herbert very boring decision loss, I believe, over the summer. I think that was on that England card over the summer. So Kyle Nelson, 1-4 in the UFC. Duho Choi, a better record, 3-3 in the UFC, but the guy has been on a 3-fight losing streak. So it's a weird spot here where I think Kyle Nelson has the better BJJ on paper, not a big ability to get the fight to the ground for Nelson, which would be important. And he's usually not doing very well in fights that Nelson is leaving round 1. So Duho Choi, killer be killed fighter. I like him to get the knockout in this spot. And I saw the same exact stat that I saw Mushroom pointed out on Twitter. I was watching it on my way home where he's like, look, there was 2 other Koreans that we know of that went on that absence for 3 years. Chang Sung Jung, the Korean zombie, and Kyung Ho Kang. And they both came back after a 3-year absence and got a round 1 stoppage. So I see another one for Duho Choi. I like him to win either in round 1 or round 2 by knockout. I think he's going to bring the pace. I think Kyle Nelson will indulge him in that, that firefight and come out the loser of that. So give me Duho Choi. I'm not keen on dropping, like almost a minus 200 on a guy who we haven't seen in 3 years, but I think he gets the job done. Any red flags for the returning Duho Choi? Do you like Kyle Nelson's chances, Lou?
This is an asshole fight. Like, I'll pick Choi for the sake of having a pick on the show, but I'm not betting the under. I'm not betting the side. I still have PTSD from the Nelson Herbert fight somehow
Yeah.
I think I had that fight doesn't go as like a parlay anchor, like 9 as like a killer that one didn't hit. I mean, Nelson stinks. Like he just is not a UFC caliber fighter. And like with Choi, like I mean, Cub Swanson sucked. Like he like Shang Tsung'd him and like took his soul. He never recovered. Even in the fights he lost, though, like the Stevens fight and especially the Jourdain fight, he had moments of brilliance. He's only going to need a couple of moments of brilliance to just knock Nelson the fuck out. So like Choi KO, if you have to play something here, it's probably the play. But I'll just, I don't want any part of this fight, man. Like I can't trust Nelson. I can't trust Choi. Like Choi not winning a fight for years and not fighting for years is still somehow more trustworthy to me than Kyle Nelson, than any dirty Canadian. Like, like Kyle Nelson.
You've seen the deficiencies more on a more active schedule from Kyle Nelson, but you haven't seen any mistakes from Doo Ho Choi. Just hasn't been around.
Like I don't know that
you can remember the good times because like the last time he fought against Jourdain where he knocked the shit out of Jourdain and then ended up losing later on in the fight.
But Jourdain's kind of like a guy that traditionally takes some abuse. But Choi looked confident, and Jourdain's not like a bum. Where's Brady? Is Charles Jourdain a bum?
Is Charles Jourdain a bum?
But like I look at Kyle Nelson and I'm like, if Kyle Nelson was like on a crew to do landscaping at my house, I'd be like, did you vet that guy? Like I'd point right. I asked like the guy, like the foreman, like there's something wrong with this dude. Like his face, there's something like he just looks like off, and I can't explain. Like I can't even explain like how he looks off, but like I hate his face. What's up, Billy? I hate his face. I hate everything about him. But more importantly, I hate that his last fight didn't get finished. That Herbert fight was like the worst. So
yeah.
In a vacuum, like if this is a video game, Choi wins 10 out of 10 times. I see people hammering that under. It's like under 2.5 minus 180. Fuck that, dude. Because look, there is a world where this is 5 minutes of standing and no punches because they're both super tentative. Nelson was crazy tentative against Herbert last fight. And Herbert was like, they were doing a lot of just on the cage, like position. Choi's coming off not fighting in years, not winning in years. Could you see a scenario where it's 5 minutes of just staring contests until they like get warmed up?
Possibly,
well, I'm saying like there's no scenario you can give me unless it's like Nelson by Twister. I wouldn't believe.
I feel like those long layoffs for guys like 2+, 3+ years it's never in the middle. It's never just like they jump back into the rhythm. It's either like a fast start, frantic, nervous, fast start, and Doo Ho Choi. That's probably what it's going to be because he's used to doing it. Or it's like you said, it's a staring fest for 5 minutes or more.
CJP said he got under 2.5 at minus 115. Absolutely. 100%, but not at minus one, but not at minus 180. At minus 180, the line's just like it's getting away from you. Like, but 115, absolutely with their histories and their frailties. At minus 180, it becomes like, yeah,
it's too much to ask for. And there's no worse feeling than to have that and then they don't do anything. I am falling behind on the chat here talking about this fight.
But I think 115 is a wonderful line.
Dropping the knowledge, taking me back to memory lane with the Black Beast from South Korea. Yeah, he could be like Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp, 330 pounds of just pure muscle over there. I think he's like he's lost 20 of his last 22 fights. Shout out to Bob Sapp. You know what Bob Sapp would never do? He would never make that Derek Lewis mistake and try to start losing weight late in his career. He would gain more weight. But and also Uncle Weezy. Yeah, I need to get familiar with some of these other outlets for gambling on fights, man. I'm just purely gambling. I don't know any of these. Like, I don't do the DFS stuff like I probably should be part of. I don't do the prize picks yet, but I am a proud premium member of Uncle Weezy's Patreon for sure, as all of you in the chat should be. The guy puts out excellent work, stats on MMA that we've always wished existed, but nobody had taken the time to compile it. So everybody go check out Uncle Weezy's Patreon, and he's going to be dropping new content on there, it sounds like. So let's see here. Shout out to Billy in the chat. Ice Viking, always good to have you. And let's get into more of this main card. And up next, we've got a fight that I'm actually kind of looking forward to because I do have action on it, but it's kind of like the sloppier heavyweight fight of the card. We got Marcin Tybura taking on Blagoy Ivanov. And you would swear that Blagoy Ivanov, at least I would, is like pushing 40. He looks like the way older man in there compared to Marcin Tybura, who's actually 1 year older at 37. And the line on this fight has changed quite a bit. It's tightened up. Marcin Tybura was actually like a minus 200 favorite, not but maybe 10 days ago or so. And I almost considered betting that, but luckily I waited. Now it's come down to minus 135. I think people saw that plus money on Ivanov, saw that he was very durable and tough. And, this could be a fight that is slated to go all 15 minutes, even though these guys are big heavyweights. Blagoy Ivanov just doesn't have that finishing potential that he once had back in the day before he was stabbed. Like, you've seen 6 fights from Blagoy in the UFC, going 3-3 in those. Many of them very close decision results, but no finishes. They're all decision results. So, you can look at 6 knockouts, 6 subs for Blagoy Ivanov, but we're not seeing that in the past since 2018 when he made his debut against JDS and lost. So Tybura, on the other hand, I've been very impressed with Tybura because not many guys in the heavyweight division actually go positive, going 10-6 in their tenure, but also going on that 5-fight winning streak against some decent competition for Tybura. And also Tybura, I like as a heavyweight and kind of like not the most athletic guy. He can actually persevere and work his way into a fight. He can get his ass kicked against Romanov in his last fight, 10-8, and then come through and make it competitive in rounds 2 and rounds 3.
Split decision for the boys.
Yeah, so I like Tybura. Not a lot of heavyweights. There's not a lot of heavyweights that can do that. They get better after round 1, or things aren't going their way. Their cardio improves. It rarely happens. So I like that from Tybura. Size advantage. I think he's going to be, better output. He's got more activity on his schedule than the fighting once every 12 to 15 month Blagoy Ivanov, who I see on a decline. So minus 135. I'm glad we got that number. I never thought we'd see that on Tybura in this fight, but I put 2 units on that. I'm pretty confident in Tybura here. Do you think this is a greasier decision that I'm making this out to be?
No, and by the way, Jimmy's right. Blagoy felt like he was 36.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they definitely look. Come on now. Look at Ivanov against Marcos Rogerio de Lima in the last fight. Like, does that guy look like he's 35 in that fight? I don't think so.
If Blagoy's 36, then so am I. All right.
Fair point. Fair point.
So CJP and I haven't agreed on a fight yet in chat. Nothing wrong with that. Like, he's capper. We both look at it differently. We finally agree on one. I'm on the Blagoy side here, and I'm really glad that just my 2 cents came in. So we had like a huge argument about this. So when I looked at this line, my instant feeling was like Tybura, because Tybura did well for me against Romanov. I had him there. I live bet him after the 10-8 like an idiot. I had him by split. I had him money line. Like that one, like just totally came through for me. He's getting slower. So we had this debate about this fight today, and I'm just telling you right now, I'm blaming just my 2 cents for everything I'm about to say. I'm blaming him, or I'm praising him greatly. He doesn't just like Blagoy. He made some really good points. He swung me. Blagoy knockout. He's going to get his first KO in the UFC at plus 600. I'm saying this as somebody who bet him against De Lima, and I didn't win that fight. I mean, I won, but I didn't win. And he should have been called for a point deduction from grabbing the cage, and he wasn't. He scored the lowest I had ever seen in a win on DraftKings ever. He got you get 30 points just to win. He got 34 points aside from just winning the fight. He did nothing in that fight against De Lima. Yeah, he outstruck him, but I mean, it was a bad look. But Tybura, he has been slowing down. What was was it 2 fights ago, or was it Volkov?
That was 2 fights ago, yeah.
He looked awful. He looked slow. He looked like very unlike him. But the fact is, he's getting older. He's been fighting wars. And look, Romanov, that fight could have been stopped. Like,
yeah.
There are refs where that fight's over and he lost a round 1 KO. Romanov expended all his energy, and then he looked absolutely fucking terrible. And Tybura, to his credit, recovered. Wasn't throwing like tons of volume, but Romanov was fucking toast. It was like the Espino fight, just without with the gratuitous nut shot.
Oof, yeah, that was a rough fight.
And Tybura like kind of vet savvied him. He can't vet savvy Blagoy. He's not going to get any takedowns here. If this becomes a battle of like, look, I don't love the KO prop, but dude,
at those odds though, that's not bad because Blagoy is. I think he's going to be the less busy striker in this matchup, oddly enough, but he's the more technical boxer. I think he does have the better technical boxing, Ivanov. So the knockout that's actually not a bad price for like a heavyweight fight like this. Getting that plus 600.
Tybura's
it's not even a bad hedge spot to put like a 10th quarter of a unit on for me, even though I'm heavily invested in Tybura.
Hold on. I saw it like what Mike said. Am I thinking it? Am I confusing people here? No, the Juan Espino fight. That was
I think you meant like, did you say Aspino?
Oh, I mean, he was.
At least that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I mean, like Ivanov's not getting KO'd here. If if anything, it's like. But I think Ivanov can like outland him like 13-5 in like the second round and the third round. Like just push him against the cage and make it ugly. I'm betting the KO because I have to have some props on this card. Like I'm pretty light on on lunatic on like lunatic props, but it's still heavyweight. There's still a lot of like weird variants. I don't want to say Ivanov's due, but like Tybura is getting like really slow. And that first round against Romanov was a very, very, I get that they're very different stylistic fighters. It was a bad look. Zero strikes. He landed 0 strikes in the first round.
But Romanov is so good at doing that, though. Like, that's his thing. Is like he seems like and we're seeing the limitations. He's a very explosive fighter, but he can't like limit his gas tank.
But Tybura's volume wasn't even good in the second and third round. It was more that Romanov's was like legit non-existent. Like he was just stepping back. And even in the third round, Romanov was like at least throwing stuff, and Tybura like didn't look great.
A similar fight to that from years ago with Tybura was the 5-round fight he was in against Verdum. Very similar. Kind of getting muscled around in that fight, but I just don't see that happening here. I feel like Ivanov he's going to be the much slower man.
I see Justin bringing up the small cage. Let me tell you something. This cage could be like 12 feet. It would take them a whole round just to like go around the cage once. Like they're both.
I don't think Tybura moves that poorly. Like he moves okay.
So I'll leave my expert fucking analysis at this. In a fight where they're both terrible and old and low volume, give me whoever the plus money is, I would take. But I'm blaming just my 2 cents. But in all fairness, or praising him. Yeah. Or I'm praising him if this wins.
I like the plus 600 KO. I do feel like Ivanov is more finish dependent. He just never really gets them.
But this is my one fight this week where I went from literally Tybura to I'm not betting it to Ivanov. So use that as you will if you're watching this video.
Well, the most important thing to consider is how late the main card is going to start. And a guy like Ivanov, who's about 67, he's usually used to being in his rocking chair.
If he got stabbed outside a nightclub, motherfuckers partying at like 3:30 in the morning. You don't get stabbed.
That was back in the 80s, dude. That's not existent.
Pat, use your head. Do you get stabbed at 8 p.m. or do you get stabbed at 3 in the morning?
You get stabbed right after bar close. Right after bar close.
Right, you do. So let me tell you something. So even if I ain't got no problem.
Around here in my city, you get stabbed right at 2:31, right after I kick you out the door of my bar. That's when you get stabbed.
Insider sources that say he had a shirt that says, the party don't stop till the break of dawn. So Ivanov don't give a fuck, dude.
Yeah, so
Bulgarian 50 Cent.
I will say, Rob Lawrence asking about the fight goes to decision. I don't like any side of that because this could be a slow
number. It's insane.
Yeah, it's dude. Like what, like minus 200 that it's supposed to go to decision for a
I think it's more than that.
Let me
Here, I'll tell you right now.
I just wouldn't touch it, to be honest. I think it's a trap either way. You're not getting good enough money for it to not go, and you're paying way too much for it to go.
It's 200.
Yeah, so that's 66% implied it goes. I don't like it. Stay away from that. Pick a side that you like or stay off of this altogether. But yeah, I mean, I do think it goes to the decision personally, my take, but the price is not good enough to bet it. So, all right, I like your take on that, and I like just my 2 cents. I like that plus 600 for Ivanov knockout because, I mean, could happen at that number at a heavyweight fight. I like it to happen. I do think he's got the better technical boxing. But we're moving on to the co-main event already. At 205 pounds, we got Devin Clark. And South Korea's own Da-Un Jung, the largest man ever to come out of South Korea at 6'4". Da-Un Jung is still only 29 years old. And Devin Clark is...
How is he only 29 years old?
Yeah. And Devin Clark is 32. He's 7-7 in the UFC, 6-6 in the UFC's light heavyweight division for Devin Clark, with a wrestling background that I don't think he's going to be able to really use in this fight. I think Da-Un Jung should be the favorite, but I need you to tell me why I'm hesitant to like put a bet on him. I just think the money line might be a little bit too wide, or maybe it's exactly where it should be. But I just have cause for concern about Da-Un Jung. Maybe it's because his last fight burned me maybe a little bit. I was very excited about the power of Da-Un Jung, his fast starting ability, and I kind of slept
There's
on.
your problem.
I slept on Dustin Jacoby, who's actually very good and got that knockout.
Well, you know, I'm a Factory X fanboy, obviously.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I got an insider at Factory X. Got my boy Cody.
Yeah. But do you think so? If we think Jung should be the favorite here, if we're in agreement on that, do you think he gets the finish in this fight, or do you think Devin Clark, makes it to like that round 3? Because Devin Clark's actually been like a round 3 type of guy. Like either he's getting the finish or getting finished by Mirzakhanov in round 3.
Mirzakhanov just kind of took his sweet ass time.
Yeah.
And get out of here with the William Knight fight, because William Knight was like, wasn't that at heavyweight?
That was, because William Knight, I don't think he made 205. So
I mean, William Knight is like, looks like $1 million a lot of these times, and like, I mean, Devin Clark. The problem I have with Devin Clark, and this is why William Knight is just so bad. Clark doesn't have the cardio to wrestle for 15 minutes. He doesn't have the size to wrestle for more than probably 5 minutes here, because Da-Un Jung statistically, his takedown defense is pretty good. He went
D1 against William Knight. Since we're talking about William Knight, remember that?
They have 8 takedowns in that, right? Like
he ragdolled them around.
Look, he's such a frustrating guy to bet on, because like the Nchukwu knockouts, I said this before. That was the start of like, I think a 1 in 10 card for me, because I lost that one, and then like I think the next fight was Diakasi lost in like 9 seconds, and I'm like, fuck, and like I knew, I'm like, I think I tweeted something like, fade every pick I make if you want to make money. Like I knew this is just gonna be one of those cards for me, but that's a weird win. Like if we're talking about his weird losses, you got to talk about his weird wins. Now I was big on the Jacoby side, just because if this is going to be a 15-minute boxing match, give me the guy who I think is the crisper boxer. It didn't matter that Jacoby didn't have as much power as Jung, and I think it's competitive. It's close in the power, but I think Jacoby is a practiced kickboxer who like is pretty good defensively. Like Jacoby doesn't get like, he's tough too. Yeah. Devin Clark, man, the battles are just wearing on him. He's taking a ton of damage, man. It's only a matter of time. I think Da-Un Jung just like,
and he's a guy. Devin Clark would have been probably. I think he was like towards the end of his contract, and then that William Knight finish, like kind of like put him back on the map.
Well, he's a good like. Look, we're both wrestling fans.
Wrestling, hell yeah.
Devin Clark is like a jobber to the stars. He's like. Yeah. He's like the Brooklyn Brawler. He's there. He can beat like, SD Jones maybe, but like that's I don't know. I'm reaching like for scrubs here, but he can't beat like Dino Bravo. No. So Da-Un Jung
and we're also looking at, now that we're talking about the size of these guys too. Then you mentioned, there's a certain like physique of guys that Devin Clark is able to employ that wrestling game plan in, and then
the physique of a potato.
Yeah, well, honestly, like a short, stockier guy. The bigger guys, the Anthony Smith, the Kutalaba, the Span, the Wreckage. These guys are giving him trouble. So this is the exact like kind of physique that I don't think he really does well against.
So, I mean, look, is this a trap? Maybe, but like, I'm taking the trap. It's plus 120 for the KO.
Okay.
Like. And also, I'm not going to mention the guy there's somebody in the community. This isn't a knock on anybody. Somebody made a video in the community. I just don't want to I don't want to bring it up or whatever. But somebody analyzed this fight and said there's nothing better than when you're getting your ass kicked, hearing your dad in the corner of the Apex saying, "Get up." Like the advice.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh man, rewatching all of these Devin Clark fights and hearing,
and it's in the Apex. You're gonna hear him. You're gonna hear his like. You're gonna just think for this for a second. You're gonna hear him and Dean Thomas at the same time giving thoughts and advice in this fight. Like
no, that exact thing happened in like the last fight for Devin Clark. Like I think they had Dean Thomas on there or something like that, like giving their color commentary like opinion of what he should be doing, and you couldn't even hear them talk. It was just Devin Clark's father yelling at him.
Like he may tap, just be like, I don't want to listen to you two. I quit. Like fuck this. I think so. The last thought on this is it does seem like a get right fight for Doon Jung. Again, remember this is supposed to be in South Korea. They want to, it's supposed to like it's a get right win for him.
Yeah.
He might look minus 800 here, honestly. Like. And if Devin Clark doesn't get the wrestling going in the first, and he's just wasting energy, Doon Jung's cardio is decent. Like the Alvey fight's just such a weird outlier to me. That and it was a while ago. It's so fucking weird, man. Like, can we forget it happened? Maybe Alvey just is like a voodoo.
I already have.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to. I'm done with this fight. And MVP was all right. CJP is a wrestling guy. He's
He does like wrestling bets too. Like he bets on the WWE.
So you can only bet on wrestling I don't because I don't have an account with them anymore. But like Bovada, I don't know if Bet Online does it, but you know why Bovada like stopped dealing with me? They're no joke, $20 bet on Brock Lesnar to beat the Undertaker. This is like forever ago.
It was like what? 2014. Yeah,
I'm not joking. He was because the Undertaker was undefeated. Brock Lesnar was plus 7,500. I made the bet drunk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, all right, fuck it. Like, oh, it's Bork Laser. Like, I'll fucking.
Yeah. Are you serious? You seriously made that bet?
$20. Dude, it was 20 to win like fucking $1,500. I'm like, all right.
No, I'm not. I'm saying it's a smart bet. I'm just saying that's like.
And then like I'm watching the match and I'm like, it was $20, whatever.
And he hit him. And then he fucking pinned him. He hit him like with 2 F5s in a row.
And then he pinned him in the crowd, like this shock. And I'm like, I forgot I made the bet. Like I'm just watching, like I'm not watching it like I have a bet. I'm watching it like I'm just watching it's WrestleMania. And then I'm like,
oh my god!
After the shock, I'm like, oh my god, I just won $1,500. Like fuck. And then
Jesus
they paid
Christ.
me, and they were like, and then all of a sudden, like I was limited on betting wrestling, and I'm like, dude, I've never made a fucking wrestling bet on your site. Like I think I bet who won the Rumble, and I'm like, I'll bet like $1 on Zack Ryder to win like
Jesus Christ
$8 million if like Zack Ryder wins.
That's actually I'm surprised we've never had that. You never brought that up to me before. That's legendary.
Well, like I mean, like, dude, it was like I felt embarrassed. I'm like, how do you bet against the Undertaker? But then like, he won 200 Ripley. That's a smart bet, man.
I didn't even know. See, I had no idea you could even bet on wrestling. To be honest, that's how dumb I am.
Hold on, is CJP on my fucking Twitter?
How are there not more like James Krause situations with the wrestling? Can't you just like have a friend who's like in the writer's room for this shit? And you know what I mean?
Hold on. Oh, he's never mind. Here, I got you, CJP. There we go. He was fine.
All right. Anyways, enough of this wrestling.
Hey, if he's
fucking
I know,
shit.
But like, yeah, well,
Let's move along to the Black Beast. Let's move along to Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivac.
The
long-awaited rescheduled heavyweight main event. Derek Lewis, even more of an underdog this time. Earlier in the week, he's like plus 195, plus 200, maybe even pushing Sergey Spivac around that minus 230, minus 250 favorite price tag, which gotta say, man, I'm sticking with my pick from the end of last year. I do have one unit on Derek Lewis at plus 195. I also have another unit that's a free play, so I'm not going to count that, but on Derek Lewis as well. I just think he gets this one done. I'm not a big Derek Lewis fan. I think the guy is extremely limited with his skill set, of course, one-dimensional, and also a quitter. Like sometimes, he starts getting beat up and frustrated in a fight. The cardio fails him, and suddenly, he's spitting out his mouthpiece, trying to buy 30 seconds here and there. And, he starts to realize, like, look, they're going to reschedule me. I'm the knockout leader. They're going to reschedule me and pay me more money later on. I'll just quit and just lose to. But it's never a bad guy. It's never like a Sergey Spivac he's losing to, right? It's a Junior Dos Santos. It's a really mobile heavyweight like Cyril Gane. It's a guy who can match his power like Sergey Pavlovich. These guys are the ones taking him out. So you look at his record, it's extremely impressive for having he is more athletic than people give him credit for, and I'll let you talk on any details that you've seen about this weight loss stuff. And there's a couple of pictures of him, looking a little bit more trim. I still think he's going to be a big guy at like 260, but I'm taking Derek Lewis in this one. I think he gets the knockout within a couple of rounds here. I don't see Sergey Spivac muscling him around the way that I see a lot of people assuming it's going to happen. Because when have you seen Lewis treated that way besides Daniel Cormier? Like nobody's really done it to him. So I think Derek Lewis gets this knockout. I'm taking him as a dog here. I think the money line is way too wide for this one. So kick it to me. How does Sergey Spivac win this fight? What are we? Or are you wearing the T-shirt for a reason? Are you on the dog as well?
Do you see the proletariat bear of Moldova on this shirt, or do you? See
I didn't know if you were mocking him or something like that, or just like saying like, oh, I'm betting against him, but at least I'm wearing the shirt.
Like my girlfriend didn't know this fight was happening, but I feel like she bought me this shirt for Christmas, specifically for this show,
just so it's rescheduled.
But she also bought me the egg and trying time shirt, which like
yeah. Good move.
Right. Like if this was any other main event, I could have just worn that one and like you'd have been equally as happy that I chose.
Absolutely. That. I'm always happy when you show up, man.
We'll do another show. Or I'll wear that one. But anyway, dude, I own like 3 shirts. I get through the year. I get through 6 months.
Like a true gambler, I own like 1 pair of shoes and 3 shirts.
I own shirts, man. So I ain't lost all of them. I mean, number one, I don't really like Spivac, like I never have. I'm not impressed with his skill set, like the diarrhea. I'm like just not impressed with the skill set. Like he goes for takedowns, like great. Lewis like has weird get up. I mean, this is not like Curtis Blades, who's like an elite wrestler at the heavyweight level. Yeah. Like Spivac's young, and he's still leveling. This is one thing I will say. Spivac's still really young. He's still growing as a fighter. And especially at heavyweight, like I don't think. It's like goalies in hockey. You don't hit your peak till you're like mid-30s. But Derek Lewis isn't getting in this kind of shape just to be a guy cashing a check. And I think that's really important here. Lewis has always looked like he's tired. He looks like he's tired from the second the fight starts. But he's kind of like, I don't want to say lulling people in, but that's just his body language. He just looks lethargic. He looks
he does it on purpose. We've seen him play possum before, too. He does it on purpose.
There's a tennis player that has made me, he's retired now, but made me so much fucking money over the years. Juan Del Potro, who literally from point one looked like he was gassed. And then he would just turn it on, rip one down the line, and then like limp to go serve. And then just turn it on. And it had more power than anybody in the men's tour. Like, and he'd win matches, and he was amazing. He won the gold medal in the Olympics. Anybody that watches tennis like loves Del Potro. It's just one of those dudes you love. It's like people that love Lewis. Because it's like he's losing every fucking second of the fight, and then he just wails the guy. We've seen Spivac bonked. Yeah, it was like Aspinall bonked him or whatever. But like, I don't know that Spivac's gonna put on some like fucking clinic against him. Like, look at the guys that Spivac's beaten. Like I don't know, man. I never remember being like, wow, he's so impressive to me. Like the Sakai fight. I mean, Sakai stinks. Like, Greg Hardy is awful. Let's forget about the Aspinall one, because Aspinall's, outside of blowing out his ACL last fight, looks like just such a goddamn animal. Yeah, Olynyk, he refused to go to the ground, and they had a 15-minute striking fight, which was disgustingly, like, he wasn't impressive in that at all. Obviously, that won't be the strategy here, but wasn't, like, that impressive. He beat Jared Van Der. Like, congratulations. People keep bringing up the Tai Tuivasa fight. Yeah, it's impressive. It's a long time ago, though, too. It's So, look, Lewis doesn't fight stupid. He's just limited. But I don't think he goes in there with bad game plans. Yeah, he didn't think that was like a real Chikara wrestler. It literally is a real wrestler that existed years ago. The proletariat bear of Moldova. He's like, you're just riffing. I'm like, it's literally a real guy. So, like, this is the kind of guy that I think Lewis can beat. And shorter cage, you have to think favors Lewis in terms of, like, not having, I don't know. I like him. So here's expert handicapping. I just like the fucking guy. And
I'm the opposite. I don't like him. I don't like the quitters, and I don't like the one-dimensional guys that bring the sport back like fucking 20 years.
But heavyweight's weird because, like, I don't think Spivac's like the next evolution. I think he's an okay hand. I think he does some things well. Again, he's still young. He could have leveled up from his last fight. It's been a while. He's young enough to learn. I hope, like, he probably learned from the Aspinall fight. Like, he never felt that shit before. But we've seen Lewis do this to guys better than him where, like, he doesn't need much. And more importantly, the longer this fight goes, this goes to the third, this goes to the championship rounds. We know Lewis still can do it. Like,
yeah, he's done it round 4 before. He's been in, I think, 9 5-round fights. None of them have actually gone to the scorecards, but he's positive record in them.
Ryan says over 1.5, and I love that, to be honest, because I love the over 1.5, which sounds like, obviously, like your butthole is going to be clenched for 7.5 minutes. But the fact of the matter is, with Spivac, he's got to mind his P's and Q's to get the fight to the ground. And once he gets the fight to the ground, is he immediately locking up like a rear naked choke? I mean, like, maybe he could, but I kind of feel like he has to just be very careful. I think Lewis has deceptive get-up game if he's not facing an elite wrestler. Lewis is dangerous as shit, and Spivac's can't just, like, blindly charge in.
Spivac always ties up in the clinch when he gets in close, and he leaves his opponent's right arm free. That's how he got knocked out by Aspinall. That's how he's going to get knocked out by Lewis. So
Spivac left himself fucking wide open for Aspinall. Yeah, so, like, I'm sure. So, all right. So if he's learned, he's gonna be careful here. So,
but he was making the same mistake against Augusto Sakai. But Sakai, you get away with it. You know,
like, if you want to do, like,
and Sakai is a big dude, but I feel like Lewis is never, like, as fat as these other guys. Like, he's a giant guy. He walked around the offseason at like 290 pounds or so. So even if he's lost some weight, Lewis, I still think is going to be a big guy tipping the scales at the heavyweight limit.
So,
you know, Lewis, he's not a big pile of pudge like the rest of these guys.
He's not a block of cheese. So
no.
Lewis round 4 KO plus 3,500. Lewis round 5 KO plus 4,500. I mean, why not, dude? Like, why not take a poke? And then also, this is a must bet, Lewis by submission in round 4 or 5 is plus 25,000.
Yes.
Like look, that. Hey, there's tons of people in this community. I bet to win money. That's why I bet. There's a lot of people, and so do you, Pat. You bet to win money.
That's all I bet for.
There's tons of people in this community, and you know who they are, that bet for clout. I don't bet for clout, but if I'm holding a Derek Lewis round 5 submission ticket, maybe I post that one.
Yeah, absolutely. just like the people that had the Yuri Prohashka by submission round 5 tickets.
The only bets
you deserve to. Yeah.
Dude, I post my, like, you know, all my shit's tracked. So, like, I win. I'm like Bill Belichick. I'm like, I'm like up 5 units on a Cincinnati. I lose. I'm like, crappy day on a Cincinnati. Like, I've been doing this for fucking 20 years, dude. Like, gambling with sports betting. Highs and lows, man. You win, great. Let's go. You lose, fuck. Let's go. No problem. Like, that's what it is. But if I hit a yam bag bet, you goddamn believe I'm tweeting it like the fucking second it hits. Right. And I'm like, what's up, hose? Like, nailed it. See, that shit, but that's funny. Like, it's more fun. I'm not like chasing.
Well, that's why. That's
like, I predicted
along those lines. That's why I like having you on the stream, because you can break things down from like a huge, you see how things play out over a bird's eye view of the time from a numbers perspective. You know what spots are worth taking, what spots will, you know, yield a higher return, but not invest very much. So I love that we were able to break down that 12-fight card in that vein.
Can I give the crowd, can I give your loyal audience 2 quick Super Bowl bets too, since they're watching?
Dude, of course. Yeah. When is that? Is that this weekend or the next?
It's next weekend, but next Tuesday, Wiz and I, who have been doing an NFL show, I'm a very mediocre MMA handicapper. I'm very honest about it. I am up 11 units this year, but it's 3 weeks from now, I could be like, fuck, I'm down 10 units. You never know. But NFL, I have had like an exceptional, like absurdly exceptional year. Way better than usual. I'm reading it well. So I'm just going to give you, so we're going to do a show. We're going to have a cavalcade of guests. Clint's coming on, Narco's coming on, Gore's coming on.
That's on WizBet's channel.
My real life buddy, Pat, that I went to college with, who I've never seen you in the same room with him. It's very possible you two could be the exact same person, even though he's 45 and he's white. And I'm pretty sure I could kick his ass now. And I know I can't kick your ass, but I've never seen you in the same room. So I got it. There's Small chance you get the same view, but he's going to come on and make a guest weird spot. Wiz and I are going to be funny about it. We're betting shoeies, I'm sure. But I'll give you the 2 picks I like. And one of them, I'm not betting the side yet. Both tight ends to score. I love Kelsey to score on Kansas City. You're not going to get great odds. But my God, this is like the lockiest. He's going to get 20 targets. And I like Dallas Goedert to score for the Eagles. It's plus 200 odds. I fucking love it. Nice, quick props. Dude, we're going to drop like all the Gatorade props. I'm telling you, Wiz and I are going to cover every fucking nonsense bet because that's what people want, man. They want a nonsense bet the bowl. They want to eat a shitload of food. They want to drink a lot of beer. And they want to hate their lives the next day. I can provide 2 or 3 of those things.
I'll have to timestamp this so I go back. Maybe I'll have some action on it if I end up watching it. But everything you said about any sport besides mixed martial arts is just Chinese to my ears.
If you guys need Danish handball advice, hit me up, bro.
Yeah.
Bajering bro handball.
This is the best. I think this might be the best bet right here.
He's a Raiders fan. Yeah.
Justin Villegas, one of the best chat members of all time. But
if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, Mushroom's taking me to fucking anywhere I want to go.
Wait, but
paying for everything.
Restate which channel was the NFL? That's going to be on Wiz's channel. He said this big
Wiz
group
bets.
of
Wiz bets. Yeah,
our boy.
Yeah, Wiz wins every bet he makes like he's a human cheat code, and I provide all the technical analysis and get no credit.
And the sex appeal, of course.
If you watched me cap NFL, you would not believe I'm the same person that does these shows.
I pop in every once in a while just to say which fight are we on. Sarcastically.
Dude, I'm like Wheezy. I'm hitting trends. I'm hitting stats. I'm like position by position. Like I'm breaking down like all the metrics. Like you'd be like, how the fuck can you do this for that? But like not for mixed martial arts.
That's probably exactly what I'll be thinking. So, but I pop in just to support you and Wiz every now and then. Hop in the live chat and just listen to. And I'm always impressed by how much you guys know. And I'm totally blank on the facts. I don't even know how football is played. But all said and done, we still have 20 live viewers in the chat, and I appreciate all of you guys sticking around for UFC Vegas 68.
I do too.
Lou, it's a pleasure to have you in here, man. I know your content in 2023 is going to be a little bit reduced as you do the IT stuff for the MMA Engine, but I appreciate you always hanging out with me and talking fights.
As I did my 3rd show of the day, my
yeah,
content as my 3rd show of the day on the South Korea card.
Yes, yeah.
I've really reduced. I've done a good job of reducing my content.
Yeah, you're not doing a very good job. You're too famous of a guest now. You're a public figure, and everybody wants to talk fights with LouBetya. So
I like
tell the people where they can find you. Tell them what's going on with the MMA Engine behind the scenes. Has the website launched yet? What are we looking at?
We're actually meeting tomorrow. The team. I have some ideas. I'm simplifying something, as I am a programmer who is an out of practice programmer and a database engineer. I'm not out of practice with database, but as an out of practice programmer, I'm treading a little lightly, and I want to simplify it a little bit just to launch it, and then I can always lay things in. But close, and it's just a matter of getting the data solidified. You find me on Twitter at LouBetya. I'm like basically a parody account. I mean, no bones about it. I'm like literally just a fucking parody account. I do the show at Monk, 5:30 Fridays. He does DFS. I do last minute bets. We are ridiculously wild. We have a crazy show. Like Brandon Olivas pops in the chat. And I'm like, hey, you want to do a show with us? And he's like, yep. Like we have weird guests. Like Brunda just popped on like for 2 like, dude, we're just weird. Pat knows, like I'm drunk when we do the show, except for like 4 times ever, which just adds to it. I'm going to tell the fucking Norm Macdonald joke this week. Dude, I told him not only would I do that, I'd help him like fucking make his own show. Like he knows I'll help him. Like, could we talk about that offline though? And not like, you know, when I'm wrapping up a show, can we be professional here? But doing the prop show tomorrow with Paul Dahl. Do you know him? You know Paul Dahl? Paul Dahl MMA? I feel like you know him. Like he's like, he knows,
maybe we've crossed paths on Twitter before.
He's a good dude. He's practitioner of jiu-jitsu. He's young, lives in Jersey. So what could go wrong with another guy from the Northeast in his early 20s making his fucking debut on the MMA Engine? What could possibly go wrong, Pat?
Oh, it's going to go right. Let's do it.
Old Dollaholic.
Yeah, I'll look him up. But we probably some of these people on Twitter have channels. I'm just totally unaware.
I'd be shocked.
It's
if
hard
you're not
enough. It's
already
hard enough.
following.
I watch so much content now. It's so hard to even like keep track of what's going on. The full-time job in there, but I'm doing my best to watch everybody's content, show support,
Dude.
and I appreciate all of you guys hanging out with us. And we will talk fights again very, very soon. Cheers.